All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Operators Mike podcast. Here today is Richard Harris. He is the author of The Seller's Journey. I'm super excited to have him on. He's no stranger to podcasts. He's probably got way more experience than me doing this. So I would love to just kind of dive right into it, Richard, if you don't mind. But
Go
how's your day
for it.
going?
It's good, man. I appreciate it. I love diving right in. I hate long introductions. I love to just get to tactics to hopefully help people, right? Either my advice is good and it helps people, or my advice is bad and it helps people because it tells them what not to do. So like I see it as a win-win for the audience.
I call it a lesson or a blessing.
Yeah. There you
Love
go.
Love that. All right, Richard. Well, just give us just a brief overview. Normally, I like to start with just a brief overview about yourself,
Yeah.
just kind of what you're doing now.
Yeah, so I'm a go-to-market strategist and sales trainer. So I teach reps how to earn the right to ask questions, which questions to ask, and when to ask them. That's the high level of my primary business. I also do a lot of go-to-market fractional CRO work with founders and founder-led sales, and getting early entrepreneurs sort of up and running on their sales process, their methodology, and most importantly, how to talk to their customers. So that's the quick version.
Love that. Well, we'll definitely dive in a little bit deeper. So, tell me just kind of what even brought you into this space and what kind of keeps you going?
Um, well, I got fired. That's the funny answer. I was working for a startup that was going to get acquired, and they were going to get acquired by Intel, and Intel didn't need me, right? Like I was line 7,000 on a 50-line spreadsheet of things to keep, right? Um, and they hugged me out the door. They did a really nice job. They did it the way it should be done in the startup world, right? Gave us some runway. I'm married, have two kids, so it gave me time. And through that process, I just started helping people. And honestly, this is 2011 and 12. I was posting on LinkedIn and giving advice, and people were finding value in it. I'm like, oh my gosh! And then one thing begot the next. Someone called and asked for some advice and said they'd pay me. And then all of a sudden I had another client and another client. And it just sort of fell into place that I became this consultant entrepreneur. It was not on the bingo card, right?
Mhm.
Of what I was going to do. And, I looked at my wife and talked to some friends, and it was like, yeah, you need to go for this because I can always go find another job. But if this is your opportunity to start your own business, well, and the people are asking for your help and willing to pay you for it, okay, I might as well listen. So that's the again, I try to get into quick versions versus long stories.
No, 100%. I love that. And just to give people some insight, myself, I've been laid off three times in the last 3 years. So I 100% get it how it goes. I'm also married with a little one at home. So it's not
Yep.
easy kind of going through that, especially when you have kids.
No.
Your brain starts going down this little spiral of
Yeah.
what am I going to do? The easy, quick
Yeah.
fix is let's apply to jobs, right? And that's the one thing that everyone does. But in the meantime, what can you do, right? What
Yeah.
can you do that's going to be different? And this led to your business that you're in full control of. So just
Yep.
kind of what was it scary to kind of take this path that was a little bit different?
So it's different for me than a lot of other people, right? Because it sort of fell in my lap,
Mm.
right? I had a client paying me for 30 days. This is about 4 months after I got laid off. And I had a client paying me for 30 days. I'm flying back from Austin, sit down on the plane, sit down to this next to this guy, start a conversation. His name's Nick Meta, and he started an amazing company called Gainsight in the SaaS software world. They had like 14 people. They're now a multi-billion dollar company, right? Next
Wow.
thing I knew, I had another client. So I had two clients, each paying me for 30 days of work. So 60 days of work, and I was making 6 months' salary, right?
Oh wow.
So, yeah, exactly, right. So it sort of fell in my lap, and this is when I called some people, and talked to my wife, and we're like, yeah, it seems like you should go for this, right? Like, and I took like, back then this was inexpensive back then in 2011. Took 5 grand and had someone build me what I call a validation website, right? It had like 4 pages, it had a home page, it had a services page, 5 pages, it had a contact us page, it had a blog page, and it had a customer page. That was it, because I already had two customers, which also helped, right?
Mhm.
So, but I had validation. These first two clients, I was using a Yahoo email address. Like that's how raw I was at the moment, right? I wasn't even cool enough to have Gmail. So, so I fell into it, and then one thing just begot the next thing, right? And so that's how it happened for me. For other people, and I think it's more of this culture now, is that you kind of start your side hustle, whatever it is, while you still have a job, right?
Mm,
And at some point, you try to see if your side hustle income can start to reach your regular income, and can you pull the trigger? That's what some people do, right?
mm,
Um, or they built a side hustle, and then if something happens and you are laid off, well, at least there's something going on, right? Um, that's what I've seen more of than the way I did it. But it also doesn't happen the way I did it very often, where all of a sudden you just got clients, right? So it's just that was my journey, and I know that my journey is very different than everybody else's.
hmm Well, I'm curious to know, like, okay, so you have some clients. It kind of came to you. What were your first like initial challenges that came up, while working with these clients, or even after you were done getting those clients? Did you have any trouble just branching out after that, or was it kind of a referral based thing?
There's a little bit of both, right? When you're starting, you're doing everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so like, uh, I'm trying to find a new list of people. I'm trying to cold call some people. I'm trying to use referrals. I'm trying to do whatever. And for me, at that stage, I needed a little more validation. So the website became a priority, right? I started going to some conferences. Again, back then, LinkedIn used to have these communities, right? They had sales groups or different groups, and so I was a part of those communities, and people would ask questions, and I'd answer them. So I found business that way, right? It's much harder now to do that. There's so many communities, and LinkedIn downgraded the value of those communities, which I thought was really, in hindsight, very foolish. Um, but so I was able to find a lot of business through referral and through networking, um, and a little bit of cold calling, right? Like I didn't have to do as much cold calling as some other people did. There were also a couple of conferences that were happening around the Bay Area, so I was able to go out and meet people. I then met up with a guy at a sales conference in Atlanta. He had one of the communities on LinkedIn. His name is Max Altschuler. He now runs GTM Fund. It's a VC fund, and he had a group called Sales Hacker, and I was active in his community, and I went up and introduced myself. And a few weeks later, he came to me and he said, "Hey, I hear from companies a lot that they need sales training, but I don't do that. Can we create a biz dev relationship?" I'm like, "Sure." So all of a sudden, I started getting all these leads from Sales Hacker. Then he asked me,
Wow.
"Hey, you know what? I'm running all these webinars and I just don't have time to do them. Do you want to be the host of these webinars?" I'm like, "Sure." So now all of a sudden, my name is getting out there, right? Which now attracts more business and creates more validation. Again, all this stuff fell into my lap in that way, right? It just sort of was like, you know, timing, right? For lack of a better phrase. And so it helped build my business in a very different way than I think people have to do it now. Um, so that's how I got started. Those were the early stages of it for me.
Mm. Yeah, and I feel like people not devalue. I feel like so much work is done online nowadays. You could do simple outreach and stuff through LinkedIn or other social media platforms, but I think people don't value going to conferences as much anymore. I just networked with someone just
Oh, I think
earlier.
they
Yeah,
change. I
they're
think that's
big.
changed.
Yeah.
I think post COVID, that's happening. I also think because prospecting has gotten so much harder,
hmm
conferences are back in vogue. So at least on this, I should say that in the software sales space that I'm in, I think that happens, right? I'm not sure who your audience is in terms of your listeners, but I still think it's the same thing in a lot of places anyway. There's nothing better than meeting somebody in person and shaking hands.
Oh, 100%. Well, we're more AI in the B2B space. So
Yeah,
that's very big of what we do. We do a lot of like
yeah.
lead gen, a lot of like yeah,
So does
improving
everybody
sales
else.
team,
So
stuff
now
like that. Yeah,
so how are
right.
you
So
going
is
to
everybody
stand
else.
out, right? By
Exactly.
being in person.
Exactly. No, honestly, sometimes it comes down to it's like, hey, I can trade for a simple favor, like exactly what you did. You hopped on the Sales Hackers webinars and you started doing this and that for them, and
Yeah,
then your name got out. So it's really
right.
what's the door that's going to open for you.
And it's like, I say yes. Someone taught me many years ago to say, just say yes. It's so easy to say no. Just say yes. Good things happen when you say yes. Right. You asked me to be on your podcast. I didn't really know who you were, but I was sitting there going, you know what? I'm just going to do it. Because at some point there'll be some content I could use out of this, of like a video snippet I put on TikTok or a blog post I write. Same for you. We may know it now. We know each other. Maybe we'll refer something. Like there's so many things that you can do just by saying, yeah, I'll come on your podcast, to someone I'd never met before.
I 100% agree. And that's why we started doing these podcasts because we wanted to like network with people and just start building a community of just other like-minded entrepreneurs like ourselves. So this is what
Yeah.
makes this podcast super valuable. So, Richard, what do you think was the biggest, not piece of advice, but the biggest um, thing in your business that really shifted from, okay, this is for maybe an idea to now this is a long-term stability role for me? Because I think
Yeah.
a lot of people worry about having a stable income after chasing their
Yeah,
dreams.
totally. And it took my wife and I about 2 years to get comfortable with there will always be more business coming in the door.
Mm.
Right. But I did a lot of work to make that happen, right? Like I did this sales hacker stuff. I did some stuff with the American Association of Inside Salespeople. I went to trade shows. I got to know people. I asked for referrals. So, so I had to sort of hustle that side of the business to make it work, right? I started blogging so that I could have an SEO perspective, right? I did at that point. I still do LinkedIn, but LinkedIn, like, so there's a lot of social branding going on out there. This is my belief, and a lot of people have confirmed it. The first year often feels fairly easy to some degree because it's people it's a referral from someone you're figuring it out, you're having fun. The second year, I think, is when it gets really hard because then you have to figure out, well, how am I going to find new business, right? Because
Mhm.
the well does run dry, so to speak. Um, and that's again when I started, the only social media that even mattered was LinkedIn at that point, right? Twitter, I didn't really get clients off Twitter, right? TikTok didn't even exist, right?
Mhm.
Instagram was not at the stage that it's at now, right? So I had to learn how and this is the advice I would give people. When you're growing your business, and even when you have grown your business, the best thing you can do is learn where your fish are swimming and fish in those ponds, right?
Love that. Yeah.
I'm not going to go and catch, you know, really nice salmon standing off the coast of California fishing. Like that's not where my fish are swimming if I want salmon, right? So you have to learn to fish where the fish are. And that fishing is, it's deposits and it's withdrawals. Deposits means you are part of communities. You are giving away free advice. I am on Reddit answering sales questions, right? I am on LinkedIn doing stuff. I'm putting stuff out on TikTok, giving away advice for free. That's me making deposits, right?
Mm.
Then over time, I can start to make withdrawals. Then I can reach out to someone who's commented on my post and said, hey, thanks for commenting. By the way, if you know anybody who needs this, let me know, right? So then I can start to ask for meetings. So you're building this validation and credibility first in the ponds where your fish are, and you're making deposits first, and then you can start to ask for withdrawals. And I think that's probably the biggest miss. That first year, I was doing a lot of deposits. I was saying yes to being on those webinars and hosting webinars. And I was saying yes to podcasts like I do now. And I was, just commenting in all these communities. I was becoming known as hopefully the goal is to be known as a trusted source, right? And that's the approach that I take and I recommend people take.
I love that. And how are you adjusting? Because I know times with even with AI, obviously we're in the AI
Mm-hmm.
space, but curious to see how sales coaching and everything has changed with artificial intelligence being in the picture.
So everybody's over indexed on AI and sales right now.
Mm.
Everybody thinks that it's going to replace the salesperson. It's not yet. We're not there yet. It won't happen until the buyer changes their behavior. At a B2C level, the buyer has changed their behavior. Business to consumer, Amazon. I don't need to talk to somebody. I can go buy a car without ever talking to a human being at all. That's B2C, right? So we're being conditioned for that, right? I can see some small businesses like, if you go to Yelp, there's going to be a certain level of people who, sorry, want me to answer a cold call on a live podcast?
It's all good.
I've done that in a sales training before. But I can see some SMB business being replaced, right? We're starting to see that again. Like if you call Comcast, right? I don't need to talk to a human being to fix my cable for the most part, right? They'll do all the resets, they'll walk me through the process and blah, 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 right? So we're being conditioned to it. At the B2B level, it's going to start small. It's going to start with those who are technologically comfortable just doing it on Yelp by themselves or Google AdWords or something like that. That's B2B, right? The more decision makers you have in making a decision, the bigger the deal, the longer the sales cycle, the longer it's going to take for AI to replace a salesperson. Right now, where AI will replace a salesperson at a larger sale, and I'm seeing it now, is just creating the short list. Right. If I'm a CTO or a CIO, and we know by nature they don't like to talk to salespeople, they're going to go do a ton more research than they've ever done, and they're going to create their short list of things before they talk to a sales rep. Right. So that's where you're going to see the demand of how a salesperson works shift, but it's not going to replace them yet. It will at some point. It's going to. We're
Mm.
just aren't there yet.
I mean, that's a great answer. I'm wondering, do you cover some of this in your book?
I put a little bit of because I wrote the book almost 2 years ago, so
Mm.
AI was sort of coming
Yeah.
in vogue, but not a ton. Because here's the other thing: if AI is not fully replacing us, well, that still means the human to human connection matters. And it's not the cheesy humans like to buy from humans. No, it's people just want to have a conversation about their pains and their problems and have it solved as quickly as possible. And if you're the human who can do that without being cheesy or schmoozy and overly aggressive, then you're going to win the deal, right? Yes, price matters. Yes, competition matters. But people buy from us as much for how we do business as much as they buy for what we do as a business. So I think that that's the part of my book. So in the book, it's much more about that human piece, and then it's very tactical. Well, here's how you say it. Here's how you handle the objection. Here's how you maintain control of a call, right? And it's meant to give you very powerful scripting, so you don't sound scripted,
Hmm.
right? Like that's the goal. I don't need anybody to sound scripted. And it's just important for people to understand these very unique tactics you can use in different parts of your sales process, sales conversation, and sales funnel.
I love that. No, I'm gonna have to get a copy. Where can I get a copy at? Is it up on Amazon?
It is on Amazon. I'm happy if you text me your address after this. I'll send it to you. Anybody listening, here's the deal. Here's the deal.
All
Write this
right.
down: 415 596 9149. 415 596 9149. Text me, tell me you heard me on the show, and I will send you a copy of my book. I'll even sign it for you and say, good luck if you can't sleep at night. Maybe this will help. So,
I love that. Well, I definitely want a copy. I really feel like the human relationship aspect is just so important, and no one likes to sound scripted. I can tell you, my first year of sales was so terrible. Like I remember my first phone call. Like I never want to go through that again because
oh, yeah.
my hands are just nervous. I'm stumbling
I have a
across
question.
words.
I got a better question. Do you remember your first sale?
Yes.
Tell us about because I'm going to tell you mine, but what was your first sale?
It's funny. It was actually because my background was in fitness and training. I was a former amateur pro soccer player, and I sold my online training services for strength training for college players. And I was selling that package for about $1,500, and that was to train with me, etc. And trying to ask for that sale for the 1,500 after I delivered so much value, after I told them I can guarantee you're gonna end up on a roster spot, and there were still objections. I was like, uh-oh, I thought I canceled all these objections. But when they were like, you know what, I feel like you're the guy. Let's just do it. And they got to that point to where they were ready. They were internally bought in. Then it
Yeah.
was just like a sigh of relief.
But do
Just
you
like,
remember that person? Do you remember that person,
yeah,
that first sale? Right.
yeah,
So
100%.
I'm going to go for super old school back to the 90s. I've been selling since the 1900s. Right. I used to sell classified ads. Yeah. That stuff that now is what's called a Google ad, but it was in a newspaper, and we would call out of magazines, and I called out of the back of Rolling Stone magazine to sell. I sold this woman named Opal, a psychic, a classified ad for $6 a week on a 52-week contract, and I thought I struck gold. I remember that was my very first sale. So, and that's why I like asking this question, because you always remember your first sale, right? Like
Oh
you
yeah,
get
I
that
love that. And
adrenaline
a
rush,
psychic.
right? Yeah. And it's like, right. It's like, well, didn't you know I was calling?
That's
But
hilarious.
so
Oh man,
anyway,
yeah.
go ahead.
See, I was just gonna say, well, when you're starting this journey and you truly believe in your vision, you see what people, what you can do for people, and you want to serve them the best you can. But then you get to that
Mm-hmm.
number to quantify
Mm-hmm.
your service, it becomes like really nerve-wracking because you want other people to see your vision, but it's sometimes hard to convince them. But it's really
Yeah.
not about convincing them. It's like, hey,
Yeah.
I want to serve you the best I can. I'm here to serve you, and this is just kind of the value. This is the value behind it. Now it's more of like, okay, I'm not trying to sell you, I'm trying to serve you. And if it's not there, guys, it's okay. Get the rejection,
Mm-hmm.
move on if you did everything you could. But what would you recommend for someone even going through that struggle?
The struggle of handling the objections or the rejection, like help me understand.
Just the rejection. They tried everything they could. They, rejected, move on. Sometimes you feel a little defeated. That's a
Yeah.
tough one for some
So
folks.
I think you have to. So a big part of what I talk about is in the book, shameless plug, the seller's journey, um, is we've got to bring humanity back into sales. And it goes both ways. Like we need to be humans to our prospects and our customers. We also have to be humans to ourselves. It's okay to be bummed out. It's okay to be disappointed. And I love what you said. Did I do everything I could possibly do? Right. And I teach that as like the big thing is that if you lose a sale, I want those salespeople to go to their manager and say, look, I lost, but I asked this, I asked this, I asked this. I've done everything we've said. What else would you have done, Mr. or Mrs. Sales Manager? And that sales manager will be like, I don't know. Great. Let's mourn it. Let's move on. Right.
Mhm.
I think that's one thing. I think you have to give yourself space and grace to go through that process, though. You have to say, you know what, I'm allowed to be disappointed here. It's okay. I'm allowed. Um, and and then you do have to give yourself permission that it's okay to move on. Not that it's just okay to be disappointed, but you have to give yourself permission to say, you know what, it's okay if I don't think about this anymore. Because sometimes I think we carry the guilt of not carrying the guilt enough, right? And so you got to give yourself that space and grace as a human being. The other thing I would tell you to do is stop chasing maybes, right?
Mhm.
If you've got a pipeline that's like a closet full of nothing to wear, stop using your pipeline as a tickler file. Kill that stuff out of your pipeline. Get rid of it and go find new stuff. It feels weird. It feels awkward. It hits you with reality of like, oh, shoot, I really only have 4 deals, not 15. Well, guess what's going to hustle you more? The fact that you have 4 deals, not the fake 15, right?
Mhm.
So you got to stop chasing these maybes too, because in that instance, you've done all you can do.
Yeah, that's a great way of viewing it. I didn't really like think about it like that. I'm gonna really have to read that book. Um, but in terms of just like someone that's just going through the maybes, how have you been able to just like slash the maybes and go to the qualified people or
Great question.
qualified
So
referrals?
this is what I normally do, right? So I'll say something like, let's Stephen, let's just say you and I had a first meeting, right? So role play with me, right? We're getting to the end of the first meeting. It was a nice conversation. It's good, right? And
Mhm.
I'll say, hey, Stephen, I know when we get off the phone, you're going to take this back to your team, right? Who's going to be the most skeptical person on your team, and what are they going to be skeptical about? Answer like role play.
Okay. Yeah, probably my manager.
Okay,
Just because this may seem like a lot of money or this what if are we sure
fair
that
enough.
this is the vehicle we want to invest in?
Okay. When you have those kind of conversations, is there certain kind of information I could give you so you can already have that answer for you so you don't become a ping pong ball? What can I share with you to take to them so when they ask you that question, you already got an answer, hopefully, that at least lets you progress the conversation.
Oh, that's a great one.
Right. So then I'll
Yeah.
say, great, you know what? I can give you some case studies. I can talk about this. I can talk about that. So now, and you even said, oh, that's a great one. Well, now Stephen knows that I got Stephen's back. Stephen knows that I know he doesn't want to become a ping pong ball. Right. So that's the first part, to stop chasing maybes. Because now I don't even care who the decision maker is. I don't. All I care about is who's the skeptic, because I'm not getting to a decision maker until I get past the skeptic. Now, your manager may be the decision maker, but if I ask Stephen who's the decision maker, he's going to clam up. But if I say who's the skeptic, he's going to tell me. Right. So that gives me greater insight. It also gives me insight into, well, what is the process going to look like to get this approved? Right.
Hmm.
Stephen now believes that Richard has his back, and I'm not just trying to sell him, that I understand he's going to have challenges internally. So after that little conversation, I'll go, great. Hey, Stephen, so I know you're going to have that conversation. How do you feel about putting something on the calendar for next week? Because it's a whole lot easier to reschedule something than it is to schedule something. And Steven's going to give me one of three answers. He's going to give me, yeah, let's do it. Because everybody knows it's easier to reschedule than schedule. He's going to say, no, I'm not sure. And then he's going to say, don't call us or we'll call you. If Steven doesn't take that meeting with me, says, no, I need more than a week. Hey, great, Steven, no problem. If I don't hear from you by next Thursday, can I contact you? I don't want to beat you. I don't want to come chasing you down, but I don't want to let anything slip through the cracks. And Steven will, 99% of the time, Steven will say, yeah, shoot me an email. Now, is Steven still going to ghost me? Possibly.
Possibly.
But back to what you brought up, and I agreed with, I've now done everything I can to try and set this next meeting. I've shown Steven I've got his back. I've shown him I'm respecting his process. I've shown him that I'm going to ask for the meeting, which will get my boss off my back. And I've gotten permission from Steven that if he doesn't want to take the meeting, that I can still contact him. I can go to bed at night now and know I've done everything I could about this deal at this stage. That's an example of what you brought up and what I think. And that's how you stop chasing maybes. Now, Steven may still ghost me. That's fine. But guess what? Steven gave me permission. And if he ghosts me, I'm going to keep hounding him for a while. Right? I'm going to have 3 or 4 emails, a couple of phone calls. And finally, I'll have an email that just says last attempt. Hey, I know we first spoke. It sounded like it was a good, you were interested. Haven't heard from you in 3 weeks. Usually when that happens, it means now the priority is taking place. You've chosen a different vendor or something else is, something else has come up for you. Just let me know which it is so I don't keep bugging you. That's my last email, right? So that's how you build a process to stop chasing maybes.
I love that. I felt like that was very non-salesy when you think about it.
That's the right. Like, it sounds a little scripted because I'm like running through it and I've said it 1,000 times, but
Yeah.
go find your own voice, right? Like, it's not salesy. It's like, Steven doesn't want me to waste his time,
Hmm.
right? And I hate email me next week and I'll get back to you. We already know that's never going to happen. So why would I ask that? Why don't I say, let's reschedule, have something set so we can reschedule versus schedule? Easiest thing in the world to do. Everybody knows that it's true too.
Yeah. No, I couldn't agree more. And the amount of emails, because even I was in my background in recruitment and stuff, I've done hundreds of
I'm
cold calls,
sure.
thousands of emails, all that good stuff. And it's just, you're so used to rejections at this point that you're almost at like, okay, I need to fine tune what I do. And this is a good opportunity for us to really learn how to fine tune these little things because they may make or break a big deal for you, for anyone that's listening.
Yeah.
So, I love that. Well, Richard, I am curious just to learn a little bit more on just kind of where you're at now. You told me your journey, kind of where you're at, how you've gone through. What part of Richard's your business are you at right now? Like, are you at a place to where you're just kind of coasting, you're really enjoying the clients you're working with, you're happy with where you're at, or are you still chasing some other goals at the moment?
I mean, I'm always chasing a financial goal, right? So there's that piece. Like I said, I've been selling since the 1900s, so I'm over the double nickel an age. So there is this, gosh, in 7 or 8 years, I could be done if I want. So that's my motivation right now is how do I make enough money to set aside so that when I'm ready to stop, I can cut back. I don't think I'll ever stop, right?
Hmm.
But I won't have to hustle and grind quite so much, right? So that's where I am in my journey. But I've also been playing that game for a long time. Like I will tell everybody this, like, I'm very fortunate. My mom's a broker and, I started investing in the stock market and when I was 15 years old and the first stock I bought was MTV.
Oh,
Hopefully
wow.
people know what that is, right?
Yeah.
And so I have a nice little nest egg of things, if the world fell apart, I'd be okay. But I'd like a little more. So I think that's the most important thing I would tell any young entrepreneur. I don't care if you put $50 a month away or $25 a month away, put it into some kind of IRA or Roth account that you can't get access to till later. Like you just have to start that habit now. It's really important, and there are going to be times of your life where you can put more in. Look, when I was single and was living in an apartment, I was putting away like $1,500 a month in my 20s, right? Where was I going to spend the money, right? I also understood what I was doing, right? Then I got married and I have a kid, and well, didn't put away quite so much, right? But because I did all that and I understand compounding interest, I think that's really important. So that's where I am in my journey. But I want people to understand, well, how do I set myself up, right? You're going to take, again, we're in sales, we're looking for the moonshots, we're looking for the startup. I can assure you, your startups are not going to make it, right? If you get lucky, one will. If you get lucky, well, don't wait for that moment. You got to start taking care of yourself first. That's the most important thing. Be as selfish about you and your goals and your income as your company is when they make those moments that they have to terminate people, because that's
Mm.
the same decision, right? You're always a free agent in sales. Always say yes to every interview. I don't care if you just took a new job last week, you still interview because you don't know what moldy cheese you're going to find. Anyway, that was a long rant on like 4 topics. Sorry.
I love that. No, I think that's it's just these conversations need to be had more often. And I think even for myself, although I thought I was at a safe company in a new industry, I was literally let go a year
Yeah.
later. So you're never
Yeah.
100% safe. You need to be working on
Yeah.
something in the background, and I'm a firm
Yeah.
believer of that. I've lived it.
Yeah. Yeah. Whether it's a side hustle or still interviewing, right?
Yeah,
Like and
100%.
I tell people all the time, I say, look, when you take a job, right? First of all, rarely do you get 3 job offers in a row. So you take the job that comes first, even if there's one you like better, because you don't know if you're going to get that one. And look, if 2 weeks later you get the other job offer, guess what? Sayonara. Sorry, first job. They're a better offer. They're a better fit. Timing was off. I'm not stupid, right? Don't say it quite like that, but but you're not burning a bridge. The only person who burns a bridge when that happened is the company that hired you. Of course, they're allowed to be upset that you left after 2 weeks and all the reasons. Of course, but you got to look out for you first because they're not. Work is not your family. So you keep interviewing for at least 30 to 45 days after you take a new job, whether you've started, you're still in an interview process, or a couple of more come along the way because you don't know what moldy cheese you're going to find. And then even after that, I still take an interview at least, if not once a month, at least once or twice a quarter. I try to get an interview because I want to see what I'm worth,
Mm.
right? What's the market willing to pay me, right?
That's true. And especially people who are developing their sales skills on their
Yeah,
own, maybe going
yeah,
1099, doing their own thing, just they're
yeah,
in control of their income. Doesn't matter
yep,
what you're doing, at least have something else available or ready to go.
yep, yep.
Uh,
That's it.
Awesome. All right, Richard, I just want to wrap up here. I appreciate your time. Tell the audience where else they can find you. And
Yeah,
then another shameless plug for your book.
sure. The Seller's Journey by Richard Harris on Amazon and all the other places, Goodreads and whatever. Um, it has a money back guarantee. So like if you don't like my book, my email address is in there. You also have my cell phone number. I'll send you your money back. I don't care. It's like $12. Like, of course, if you think my book sucks, I'll pay you back. I don't care. Um, so that's the first thing. You can find me on LinkedIn, Richard Harris. I'm the one with the little trademark emoji by my name. And the harrisconsultinggroup.com. But if you reach out to me, please text me, call me, whatever. I'll take a call. I'll give advice. You can see I got a lot of advice I can give. I'm happy to share it. Just text me ahead of time to let me know where you heard of me so that I'll know to answer the call. So with all the spam calls we're getting these days. So
Exactly. Awesome. All right, Richard. Well, thank you again for your time. This was
yeah,
extremely valuable. And yeah, I can't wait to hopefully catch up in a year's time and see where we're at.
sounds good, my man. Thanks for having me.
All right, no, take it easy.